This is Irish Carnivores Richard I collection on the 17th of June 2013. As you can see, the greenhouse is finally up after all my moaning last year, and I had a bit of flooding in here yesterday, even though the garden itself wasn't flooded, which was kind of ironic considering where the rain was landing. So it was quite wet out here yesterday. Anyway, there's no staging in here yet properly, so everything is crammed onto the one bench. That's the main collection, with the tallest plant at the back being Brooks Hybrid, and to the left hand side, just fractionally smaller, is Flava Maxima Slack's clone. Just briefly, if I pan around to the left, you can see some Venus flytraps and a very playful dog. I have a bit of a habit of buying a Venus flytrap from a garden centre every year, even though I don't need it. But also in there is some seed-grown plants from Ian Salter, and his 3K clone from last year,
which is very late coming up.
Quite a nice coloured form of his Catesby. Darlingtonia. You can see the size a bit better. It hasn't been doing well for a few years since it's been outside, so I've brought it in. You can see, if I was to zoom in, it has an aborted flower,
which is the second year in a row that's happened.
Just there. And also grown in the pot, which I had forgotten about, is a Pinguicula grandiflora rosea, which I got last year, and I had thought that had died, but it sprung up, so I shall take that out at the end of the season and grow it outside with the rest of my grandifloras. Lots of flower spikes coming on the Venus flytraps. I have been away for 7 or 8 weeks in the UK, so my neighbour was watering and I came back, and of course the flytraps are full of flowers. So I figured that I'd just leave it this year. Here we have a Venus flytrap experiment growing in equal parts of pine needles and peat, which I planted last year, and they've been doing really well. Another one of Ian Salter's Catesby hybrids there, and a couple of really dodgy garden centre hybrids, which I might end up getting rid of next year. My Nepenthes didn't fare so well while I was away, and didn't like being out in the greenhouse in the full sun. So they've sustained quite a bit of damage. So this is a ventrata which I am repotting, and I have cut that large part of the vine off and will be taking cuttings from it later today. Here was my rather lovely ventricosa, which is now in quite a state. I repotted it yesterday. All my nepenthes were growing in a basket together, so I should be taking that back into the house, or I might put it under the greenhouse staging for the summer, but back into the house then. And also here in the front there is my nepenthes glabrata, which hasn't done as badly as I thought, but it hasn't pictured for a couple of years, so I think that needs more humidity. A Euphorbia obesa, an astrophytum, a Harwarthia plant that's coming up into flower. Aeonium Schwarzkopf, a rather nice pink Echeveria, Aloe variegata, and a Lampranthus plant that I brought back from Cornwall, as well as a Lithops as a bit of an experiment, having killed one when I was younger. The back of the collection is Sarracenia maxima, Flava maxima, Slax maxima in the back corner. That plant was quite deformed last year, so it hasn't grown up tall. Then we have the two larger pictures are a newer clone I got of the Slax maxima from Matthew Soper earlier this year. Here we have the all green form of maxima from Matthew Soper. In the foreground is a Sarracenia excellens from Ian Salter, and you can just see there a standard veined clone from Ian Salter, as well as my Flava Cuprea. We also have a Sarracenia Leucophila Schnell's Ghost, which is still picturing up and has rather tall flower stem. That's from Mike King, L4. Some of these plants I brought back from the UK with me this year after getting them from Mike at this season, but all my other plants had flowered while I was away. Here we have my first ever Sarracenia, Flava ornata from Miramar Beach in Florida, from Southwest Carnivores. I have a seed-grown Leucophila from Ian Salter. Here is a rather deformed this season Leucophila Deer Park, Alabama. Brooks hybrid there,
which is currently 80 centimeters.
And those two pictures, the two tallest ones there, the Maxima Slax clone. Here we have some Moriais, the Marston clone in the front and the Hampshire Carnivores in the back. I actually prefer Matthew Soper's one from Hampshire for colour. Then we have a red tube Flava Ribricorpora from Sumatra, North Florida, and a Atrapurpurea flava that I've had for 3 or 4 years from Southwest Carnivores. This is its first time in the greenhouse, so hopefully it's going to colour up this year, but it hasn't done previously. But I can live in hope anyway. Here, not opened yet, is the Reading University clone of Sarracenia minor, Ocophenochiensis.
Reputed to reach 4 feet.
Linda Butt. Flash. Juthatip Soper. Just zooming into the back there, we have Sarracenia aureophila Sand Mountain. We have 2 young plants of Rubricorpus from Mike King here. This is his F26 Burgundy, which I'm very much in love with, and the giant red tube here. Here we have Sarracenia alata from Deer Park, Alabama, just starting to open up and not quite showing its potential yet. We have Catesby from Hampshire Carnivores, Matthew Soper. First time it's flowered, and it has quite an unusual flower on it this year. So I don't know if that's going to stay like that or not. Sarracenia rubra, subspecies Galfensis. Again, it's too early for this plant. This one is from Yellow River, North Florida, which is only just really starting to open. Judith Hindle. We have some plants I pulled out from the bottom of a pot of Drosera binata yesterday. Drosera collection on the right at the front is the binata. The left in the red pot is the Regia, Madagascariensis on the left of that. Behind that plant is Drosera filiformis, subspecies filiformis. To the right of that is the Capensis red form, just there. We have a garden centre poor growing clone of Aliciae just there, but I think it's to do what it's being potted in. I haven't ever repotted it from the garden centre yet, and I'm assuming it's growing in some sort of fertilised compost, which I should probably remove it from the collection that it's standing in so it doesn't affect the other plants. In the back, in the red pot, we have a Filiformis California Sunset, and just poking in there is another surviving just Drosera capensis red form that I nearly killed in the winter. Forgot to water it in the house, along with a extrema plant that you can see back there, so I'm now looking for a new Drosera extrema. In this pot we have a rather nice Leucophila from Southwest Carnivores. Here we have the F18 Flava Rugelii, the giant Rugelii from Mike King. It's only a young plant. Really pleased to get that in my collection. Here is the cephalotus that I had trouble with last year, and I left it outside during the winter, and I was hoping I was going to kill it to give me an excuse to buy a new one, and instead you can just see there it has a flower stalk coming, which has pleased me a bit.
As I can now grow it from seed.
Here we have a young cephalotus pullings that had rooted from Mark Anderson. The original pictures died off when I received it. I think I put it in too much sunlight, but there is, you can't really see it, but there is good growth coming in the middle of the plant. We have the Utricularias Levida from Durban and Uniflora, though not particularly doing well yet. Moving to some Venus flytraps, Spider, Dracula, Akai Ryu, Southwest Dragon, Southwest Giant. All red form with some Utricula bisquamata growing in there. And here is a B52. A fairly young Sarracenia minor. And this is a purpurea that was not well at all when I received it, so it has struggled for the past couple of years. Just in case I said purpurea, I meant Citacina. Standard Sarracenia minor. And here we just have coming up M25 from Mike King, minor Ocophenochiensis. Also at the back I have Alata rubricorpa red lid form from De Soto National Park, Mike King A40. No pictures as of yet, but the flower is just opening. It's a new plant to the collection. Down underneath are some Pinguicula primiflora seeds I sowed yesterday, but the peat hasn't absorbed the water as of yet, so they're going to be a day or two before they're able to start germinating.
But I should have sowed these seeds last August, so I'll be lucky.
A couple of orchids that were put out here, and I forgot to put precautions against slugs and snails down when I went away. Here are some of my hardy collection, or most of my hardy collection. Purpurea from PJ Plants. I have a Drosera rotundifolia there, which has either not come up yet or I think has died back because I had it in the greenhouse and it was too hot for it. That is a hybrida, which usually looks rather nice, but again it was in the greenhouse, so not so good. Intermedia, which I think needs repotting really into a better mixture because the moss is very dense on top, and I think it needs some sphagnum because it never really grows very well, and it should. Drosera obovata, and at the back is a Drosera anglica just there, and just a close up there of the obovata. here we have the remaining flowers of my Pinguicula grandiflora, although it doesn't seem to be showing up so well on the camera. They are some plants that I got very cheaply at the beginning of the season on eBay, and I just know I'm going to be inundated once I start taking off Gemme in the spring. Primula Vialii, which I've been wanting for several years. I finally brought back one from Cornwall with me. So that concludes the collection for today.